Despite Cole being one of the first characters introduced in the show and being one of the original characters, he's always been by far the most neglected member of the cast ever since the very beginning. You have Kai the hothead, Jay the funny guy, Zane the quirky one, and Lloyd the bratty child and chosen one. And then there's Cole. Cole is just Cole. He's the blandest member of the team, with his defining personality trait being that he's the serious one, the no-nonsense guy who keeps everyone in line and is kind of the foundation of the group. Which aren't bad traits to have. In fact, they're great and very respectable. But when you're a main character in a children's show, having those traits get you pushed to the side, ignored, and overshadowed by the other, more flashy and fun characters. Not to mention, he's literally the Black Ninja. Why would some kid want to dress up as him for Halloween when they could be the bright, colorful red, blue, white, or green ninja? His suits are bland and boring compared to everyone else's, and coming from someone who is a Cole fan, frankly, a lot of his earlier suits were not very good. Sorry. Same with his powers. His powers are as flashy and fun as the others are. Cole is only here to fill out space, to make the team feel more full and complete, and while the writers do make attempts to flesh him out, for some reason it would take a very long time for him to receive the proper attention he deserves. Now, even though the first minute or two of this video has been me crapping on Cole's character in these earlier seasons, I could not tell you why, but as a kid, for some reason, I latched on to Cole. He became my favorite and still is to this very day. I cannot ever remember a time when he was not my favorite. Maybe I liked his design, maybe I liked his quieter, more serious nature, maybe I hated everyone else, which left me no choice but to make him my favorite. I don't know, but as the years went on and Cole started getting the attention and appreciation he deserved, I've only grown to love him more, and now he's not only my favorite Ninjago character, but just my favorite fictional character in general. And that's what this video is, a love letter to my favorite character of all time. But real quick, I am very close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, and once I do, I am planning on doing both a Q&A and a collection showcase. So, if you have any questions you'd like to ask me, leave them down below, and I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing. Now, while it did take many years for Cole's character to be properly fleshed out and explored, the efforts the writers did make in the earlier days were still really good. Season 1 episode 9, The Royal Blacksmiths, is entirely about Cole. We learn more of where he's from, we meet his dad, and he gets some development with him coming out to said dad about him being gay. A ninja. This has always been one of my favorite episodes of the series. As a kid, I think it was entirely because of the dance scene at the end that uses the weakened whip. And then I think it became more so because it is basically the Cole episode of the series, and it's the first time we truly see his character. But much more recently, there's been one aspect of this episode that's hit pretty hard for me. I don't know if it was intentional or not. The next big thing the writers tried to do to make Cole more appealing was to turn him into a ghost. I'm not sure how well this worked out, but I have to assume not very, since just a year later they turned him back into a human. It is funny though how the arc he goes through while being a ghost is about him being forgotten and ignored by everyone else. It's a fine arc, but ironically a pretty forgettable one. Anyways, yeah, the post-movie seasons were really what made Cole a great and popular character, giving him more easily recognizable traits. Mainly his fatherly nature we see while he cares for young Wu during the Owen trilogy, and then Craig during season 11. Season 13 especially highlighted his leadership skills. I love how Cole is able to stumble upon some random group of people, pull them together, and then turn them to a great team. As mentioned, Master Mountain portrays this wonderfully with the Upply we saw earlier in the show with the Elemental Masters in Season 4, and we will later see it again with the Finders in Dragon's Rising. Heck, he even does it with the ninja themselves. In Crystallize, he's the one who decides it's time to get the team back together after they've broken up over Nia's sacrifice. And in Season 5, when everyone's taking turns being leader, Cole's plan is the only one that works and moves them along. It's a really great trait and is why I think he should have been the leader of the team, at least until Lloyd became ready to take over. Because the difference between Cole and Lloyd is that while Lloyd is a great leader, especially in Dragon's Rising, he had to grow into that role. He spent years learning how to be a good leader. Cole, on the other hand, is just a naturally good leader. It's a skill that comes to him without much thought or practice. And in fact, he was the leader until Kai joined the team and took over only because he was the main character. Cole really got robbed. Now, even though Cole started getting more focus after the movie, he was still pretty neglected, which might have actually been a good thing. Towards the end of the original show's run, all of the other five ninjas' characters started to go downhill and in some cases were completely ruined. Jay and Zane were flanderized, Kai was sucked of all his interesting character traits, leaving him very bland, Nia had all of her development erased and reverted back to just being the girl, and Lloyd became racist. But then there's Cole. Besides from like a single bad line, his character by the end of the show wasn't horribly changed or ruined. He still had all of his traits and was still very likable and still Cole. If anything, Cole being the only one who survived unscathed is really surprising since his character would have been the most likely one to get screwed up considering his original voice actor, Kirby Morrow, had passed away in 2020, rest in peace, and was replaced by Andrew Francis for the show's final season. His character could have easily been lost during the transition to his new voice, especially considering what Andrew's debut season was. But luckily, Andrew has been doing a fantastic job as Cole for the past 4 years, and Cole's character has hardly been affected by the change, which is great. On the topic of his voice, there's always been this one line from Seabound that's really confused me.
Yeah, the important thing is you were here.
That's not Kirby Morrow. Who is that? Looking at the cast list, Kirby is still listed as Cole. The only answer I can think of is that it's an error similar to the ones that were common early in the show's run.
Look, pal, we're the guys that just saved the city from that giant snake.
But by this point, I would assume that there wouldn't be any of those anymore. But I guess this one could have slipped through. But then the question is, whose voice is that? I'm not very good with voice actors. I only really know the ones who play the ninja, and that's about it. So if anyone recognizes this guy's voice, let me know. One last thing about Cole's voice. November 18th was the 5th anniversary of Kirby Moore's passing, which should have just been a few days ago. I don't know when exactly this video will be released. And now the reason this video is being released when it is because I spent almost an entire week procrastinating working on this video for literally no reason. And I didn't realize until the 18th that I could have easily gotten this out on the day of Kirby's anniversary if I hadn't been lazy. I am pretty upset at myself for this, and I am very sorry, Kirby Morrow. Rest in peace. It wouldn't be right if I didn't talk a bit about Season 13, Master of the Mountain. This was Cole's first and only focus season, and was what turned him into the character he is in Dragon's Rising. I don't really have anything new to say about the season. It's already been praised in pretty much every aspect, and I just don't have anything to add. Like I mentioned, the season highlights and directly addresses his leadership qualities. I love all the history with his mother, and the fact that we learned about her at all is amazing. The Skull Sorcerer is a simple villain, but a perfect one for Cole, and he is honestly one of my favorites. And this is just straight up my favorite season of the show. One of the smaller reasons being that they paired Cole up with a girl and didn't have them get together. If you see my last video, then you know that I really like platonic male-female relationships, so of course I really like Cole and Vanya, though not as much as Aaron Sora. And I am tired of seeing people saying that Cole and Vanya are canonically in a relationship when there is absolutely nothing in the show even hinting towards that. Heck, Cole even says that he doesn't like Vanya like that, which yeah, that line comes from only the second episode of the season before he really knows her. But still, do you not think that's kind of the writers being like, hey, these two are just friends? Also, something I've never seen brought up is the age gap between these two. It is canon information that Vanya is 18 years old. That is literally the entire reason the ninja go to Shintaro in the first place, for her 18th birthday. And now of course the ninjas' ages have always been up for debate, but I think most of us can agree that Cole is in at least his early 20s during this season. My headcanon is 21, which would put a 3-year gap between them. Before I move on to Dragon's Rising, there is one aspect of Cole's character that I don't love. Not that. Well, yes that, but I don't want to talk about that. Another one of Cole's defining traits I left out earlier is his love for food. He's the show's obligatory cookie monster, something that apparently every show had to have for some reason. This trait isn't terrible or anything, just those types of characters have always kind of turned me off for some reason. It can be funny at times, but most of the time it's just like, why? Okay, so an example of a time where I like this trait is, say, in season 11, where Cole's eating cake while in the hot tub, and later when Wu uses his love of cake to set a trap for him. That's funny. I like that. But then what I don't like is that one season 2 episode where he spends the entire episode talking and complaining about cake. Or that scene in season 4 where he's stuffing his face and then tries to fight with a full stomach. That scene has always for some reason made me uncomfortable. On to Dragon's Rising, Cole wasn't brought into the show until 3/4 of the way through the first season. Episode 16, The Land of Lost Things, is an introductory episode for the new viewers, and pretty much the core episode for this new series. It's entirely focused on him and what his life has become post-merge. And it's amazing, by far one of the greatest episodes of the show. Not just for Cole either, unlike the Royal Blacksmiths, this episode has some fantastic moments for Sora as well. After the merge, Cole ended up in a part of Imperium known as the Land of Lost Things, very ironic, and found Geo, a Gecko and Muntz hybrid, Bond or a skeleton who was secretly an ancient, extremely powerful spell, Fritz, a Formling, and Spitz, a Serpentine, all of whom were outcast from their original homes and became lost, forgotten. Cole saw this and decided to stay and help look out for them, forming a new family, which is like the absolute best thing they could have done with his character. It not only immediately gives him something new and interesting for the new series, but it's a fantastic way to show off what his character is to new viewers right off the bat. Right away, you get the idea of who this guy is and what his priorities are. I really could not have asked for a better way to integrate him back into the show. Later in the season, he gets a message from Master Wu's ghost, which he follows. But here's the catch. We only just learned what this mission was about in the latter half of the 3rd season, nearly 2 whole years after this plotline was first set up. Now, the reason I assume they did this was because they wanted to wait until they had introduced Frack so that he could be involved. Which, okay, fair, Frack is awesome. And I do actually like the payoff. Cole, Frack, and Kai find a Source Dragon's corpse and put it to rest, which I think just barely works. Last year, I made a video on this plotline and said that Cole's quest had to be something big enough that they would want to set it up early so that it wouldn't feel out of place later, but small enough so that it would make sense why Cole didn't feel the need to tell anyone. And I do think that finding a dead Source Dragon balances on this line pretty well. Though from Cole's perspective, why didn't he tell anybody about what happened or that the Earth was screaming in the year gap between seasons 1 and 3? I don't think it was entirely necessary to have this plot introduced in season 1. Heck, it could have been entirely a season 3 thing. Instead of having Wu come get Cole in season 1, have him come get him, Frack, and Kai in season 3. Keep the line about the Earth screaming in the Land of Lost Things, but don't do anything with it until Casket of Bones. Though, as it is, I think that this plot does work, and I do quite enjoy it, seeing as it involves 3 of my favorite characters. The other thing Cole does during the season is really great, though. The Finders get hollowed out in episode 16, and we see a side of Cole we've never really seen before. He gets angry, lashes out at Kai, and wants revenge on Noct for hollowing out his new family. And it all still feels completely in character for him. Promises are special to Cole, and something he takes very seriously. He promised to protect Splits and Fritz, and feels like he failed them by letting them get hurt. This small plot could have felt out of place for Cole, since we've never really seen him get this mad before, but it's entirely in line with what we know about him, and Season 3 Episode 17 I do think is up there as one of the best Cole episodes. Despite Cole's lack of screen time Dragon's Rising, the screen time he does get is absolutely amazing, and I think is honestly the best his character has ever been. They took everything that made him so good in earlier seasons and just combined it all together. Probably my biggest complaint with how he's being treated is that I wish he was allowed to take part in the main plots more often, and I wish he got to interact with the other ninja. I think he shared the most screen time with Zane so far, and while I do like the classic pairing, with how Zane's character has fallen off, it would be nice to see him get paired with, say, Jay or Frack or Lloyd instead. I say this because from the looks of things, he and Zane will be paired up again for Season 4, which, okay, fine, I guess. This video is most likely shorter than the previous ones in the series. I think that's because this is the first one of these videos that's positive. The other three have all been 20 to 30 minutes of me ranting about how much Jay, Kai, and Zane have fallen off in the past 6 or 7 years. And I think it's easier for me to go into detail about why I don't like something than to go into detail about why I like something. But yeah, that is why Cole is my favorite ninja. I love him in all of his grounded, fruity glory, and he is the best character, seeing as my opinion is the objectively correct opinion, and anyone who doesn't have him at the top of their list is scientifically wrong and needs to do their research. Oh, one last thing. This entire video is a lie. The real reason Cole is my favorite character is because it is canon information that Cole's favorite color is orange, which is also my favorite color, so that automatically puts him at the top of my list. And with that, really appreciate it if you took 2 seconds to like and subscribe. Bye. That last bit was a joke, by the way. Me and Cole do have the same favorite color, and that is really cool. But the part about this entire video being a lie was a joke. Okay, bye. And you get some development with him coming out to said dad about him being gay. Ninja. Season 1, episode 9, the Royal Blacksmiths is entirely about Cole. We learn, and he gets some development with him coming out to said dad about him being gay. A ninja. But much more recently, there's been, but much more, and I'm tired of seeing people saying that they are, and I'm tired of seeing, and I'm tired of people, and I'm tired of people.